All right, today on Locked on Bama, we're going to start you out with some news. We think may be the only place you get this news, but maybe that's wrong too.
You are Locked on Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked on Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I'll tell you about Monopoly Go in just a bit. Plus, thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Jimmy, I'm getting something here. Breaking news.
Sinus infection?
No, it sounds like Caden Proctor is going to end up back at Alabama, and he's going to – oh, we already knew that? We've known that for a while? And okay.
You wouldn't believe how many people are confused over that Caden Proctor. We've had even people that follow the program, not the super casuals, but a lot of people are confused about the whole Caden Proctor story.
Confusion.
What I mean is we've had multiple people ask how he's doing at practice. So you've got the people that think he's already been enrolled at Alabama and practicing with the team. That's wrong. Then you've got he's at Iowa. He's still at Iowa. How did he do at Iowa spring practice? And he didn't even participate in Iowa spring practice at all. I mean, we got people that are incorrect at both extremes, and I think it's because the portal and how all that works is confusing, even for those of us who literally live with it every day and follow this sport not daily but hourly. It's good. So I would imagine people that don't immerse themselves in it like we do can get really confused. But no, Caden Proctor, that announcement over a month ago was just simply that he intends to leave Iowa and play for Alabama next season. He could not officially do that until he entered the portal, which, as you guys know now, only opened at midnight Monday evening. So the portals hadn't really been open 3 days, but that he had to do that. He had to jump through that hoop. So he's basically portaled to Alabama, but will not enroll at Alabama until we believe June 1st, which is the first summer session. At that point, once he's enrolled, he can start officially working out with his Alabama teammates.
I even saw somewhere where there was a picture of Caden Proctor at the spring game, right?
Yep. Yeah.
He was just watching. And I remember a comment. I can't remember what social media outlet or what message board. Someone was like, is Proctor already hurt? I'm like, no.
There you go.
He's not even enrolled. You can't practice if you're not enrolled. Maybe you can now because the NCAA is like, we have no rules at all. We don't even know what we're doing. Yesterday, they passed something where, like, you become immediately eligible if you transfer. I'm going to need you to explain this to me, because is this saying that when you transfer, you can transfer like in mid-season? I mean, you still have to be enrolled. So I'm just curious, what does that even mean?
Mostly what the new rule that was passed by the Division I Council yesterday, and of course they only pass rules that have the support of coaches in the sport and to some extent what's foisted upon them by the court of law, and that's what's happened here. They basically made permanent a court ruling. There was a court ruling that said, y'all are doing the transfer portal all wrong. Kids should be eligible. They shouldn't have to sit out ever, and you're just picking and choosing who can do this, and it's all wrong. A court ruled that kids should have immediate eligibility when they transfer. So what the NCAA did was made that official. Like, hey, the courts made us do this, but so now we have the rule. Anyone's free to transfer and not sit out or lose any eligibility at any time. However, you must be in good academic standing from the university where you're transferring from, and then be on track to graduate at the university you're arriving to within, the traditional 5-year period.
But you can't just leave in the middle of a season for one team and play for another. That's sort of
you cannot do that.
Yeah, that's sort of the way it reads. I mean, unless you put it like an iota of thought into it. Like,
you can transfer mid-season, but you can't play football.
Gotcha.
I mean, in other words, you could leave Alabama in September and enroll somewhere else in October, assuming you can do so academically. I mean, we have to remember the school years and people aren't just free to enroll. It's not like middle school or high school or elementary school where kids all the time are moving and then enrolling in their new school, March 25th. You can't do that in college. I mean, you have to be enrolled by a certain period of time for you to get credits for that semester.
Gotcha. Okay. It's when you said that the NCAA sometimes has the court of law tell them to do things and, that is forced upon them. It always makes me think of the Simpsons.
I knew you were going to say Simpsons. I was going to say Simpsons.
Patty and Selma. I can't remember which of them was like, which of them just practiced celibacy and which of them was abstinence. But I'm going to say Patty was the latter. And Patty said, and Homer goes, "I thought you didn't even like me." And she goes, "No, she is abstinent. She practices celibacy. I just had celibacy thrust upon me." Like I just can't get any. That's all. That's it. But anyway, I don't know why those two things are even remotely the same. It's just always an excuse to say that joke.
I've seen The Simpsons in like 2 decades, and I thought of Patty and Selma. As soon as you said it, I started laughing. I forgot about those 2 gals.
Patty and Selma were just the best. I mean, they just were horrible. And when they loaned money to Homer to get him, he was in a lot of money problems, and they loaned him money to get him out of it. And I remember like they said, "Yeah, don't worry." He's like, "You're not going to hold this against me," right there. Like, "Oh yeah, we'll take care of you." Yes, care. Had that very diabolical laugh. Like they just start dying laughing, and then Homer starts laughing. They're like, "Hey, cut him a check and get him the hell out of here." Because Homer's too stupid to. Anyway. So anyway, I just thought it was funny that I saw Caden Proctor standing in practice, watching the spring game, and somebody's like, "Is he hurt already?" I'm just like, "Jeez." I mean, in everybody's defense, if you're listening to this and you're going, "Hey, I kind of thought he was hurt too," don't feel too bad, because the rules are so incredibly ambiguous and nebulous and all over the place. Nobody really knows what's going on anymore anyway.
Well, they change. The rules change so frequently because of the courts. I mean,
and because the NCAA puts up no more of a fight. I mean, the NCAA used to fight everything. They fight nothing now.
Well, they got tired of losing.
Yeah. I
mean, I think the NCAA had what amounted to an 80 or 90 court appearance losing streak.
Yeah.
And they literally were spending. I mean, that's when people are like, "Boy, the NCAA is kind of toothless and they don't stand up." The NCAA was spending hundreds of millions of dollars on legal fees and losing. And at some point they just said, "We are just flushing this money down the toilet. We're just going to lose." And that's why they sort of, to some extent, stopped fighting some of this, because it was just let the courts and let the schools and the kids decide. And that's really what's going on now. For those that say, "Okay, so there are no NCAA rules," well, ask Michigan, who was placed on probation this week and are facing sanctions. There are still rules in some areas, but where the NCAA really gave up, where the NCAA is like, "Look, every time we pass a rule, the courts strike us down." The NCAA sort of walked away from NIL, and they've sort of walked away from the transfer portal, because that's where they were really getting killed in court. So there are, as we speak, literally no current NIL rules, thanks to a court ruling. And the transfer portal rule that they passed yesterday, which basically allows unfettered, complete free agency, that was, again, forced upon them by the courts. So they're like, "Well, the courts aren't going to let us have it the old way back, so we're just going to make what the court said a rule." And now there's unfettered free agency. What that means is year-to-year free agency. You can't transfer mid-season. You can't play for Alabama in September and then Tennessee in October. You can't do that. But you can transfer each year, unlimited amount of times, unlimited. You can transfer. Well, you have 5 years of eligibility. Obviously, one of those years has to be a redshirt year, but you can transfer 5 times. In fact, Aaron Estrada came really close to that, I believe.
Yeah, he did. It's just crazy. The only organization that does worse in a court setting is the Washington Generals than the NCAA. They're both on the court, kind of.
Or Lionel Hutz, the Simpsons lawyer.
Lionel Hutz, yeah.
He had a long
Hey,
losing
don't
streak.
you worry, NCAA.
I
don't really
watched
know what I'm
Matlock
talking
last night
I
in a
watched
bar.
Matlock in a bar last night. The sound wasn't on, but I got the gist of it. All right.
I actually
Jimmy,
used that as a lawyer when I was practicing all the time. I said
don't
that
you
all the time.
worry. And then he said, listen, if I don't win your case, the pizza's free. And she's like, but we won. He's like, it's okay. There's no pizza in the box anyway. So, all right.
I whittled the line down. I would say it in my office to people all the time that would be surprised a little bit. Some of my legal, when I would give them an answer that surprised them, and a client would often say to me in private attorney-client meeting, they would say, "Are you sure?" My reaction to that every time was, "I watched Matlock last night."
I love one time they found his advertisement in the newspaper, and they said, this says you work on a contingency, no money down. He said, no, they screwed this all up. And it says works on contingency. Then he wrote a question mark, says no, comma, money down. I need money now. All right. I got to tell you about Yahoo Finance. Listen, boy, do we love a sponsor. We do. This couldn't exist without the help of our sponsors like Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. Let me tell you, this is the God's honest truth. I mean, 100%. I'm not saying I normally lie on these live reads because I don't, but I just want to reiterate this is the truth. My father has been using Yahoo Finance for a long time. The same father who many moons ago, maybe a year ago, my brother and I tricked him into thinking the bank, his current bank, needed his shoe size confirmed to be able to access his account. So if my father can use Yahoo Finance, you can use Yahoo Finance. It's super easy. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising cost of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage, pretty much anything standing in the way of you and financial freedom, right? With Yahoo Finance, you can get access to the news, data, tools, and all you need in order to reach that financial freedom. I promise you, go check them out. Whether you're a seasoned investor or looking for the right extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. Look, for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor. That's yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. All right, let's talk a little. I'm going to talk a little basketball here for a minute. Then we're going to get back to football. We're going to talk
It
some
occurred
more.
to me that anyone under 35 that's listening to this show has no idea what Matlock is.
That is true.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, folks.
Somebody young somewhere, like a big deal, asked like what the big deal with OJ dying was. Like, I mean, it's crazy, and it's crazy that happened so long ago that people don't know. It's one of the most bananas things that's ever happened in this country.
Must have been a long time ago. The OJ arrest and trial happened when I was in law school. We talked about it all the way through law school. Yeah.
Crazy, but all right. So Jimmy, first of all, some interesting things happened basketball-wise. Portal. Nick Pringle got in the portal. This was something you have been saying for a while was going to happen. You weren't saying it on this podcast, but I'll give you props. You were telling me, hey, I expect that to happen. I don't think saying this after the fact, I'm not trying to give you any extra accolades. I'm just saying Jimmy knows what he's talking about. So then Mark Sears, first of all, Nick Pringle getting in the portal is fine. I mean, look, I like Nick Pringle, and it was funny the way I think AL.com phrased it. They were like, Alabama big man and fan favorite Nick Pringle. I'm like, he wasn't always a fan favorite. I mean, sometimes when you get suspended, we're like, what are you doing? You're not my favorite.
I think it put best this way. Nick Pringle was not a great player, but he was a critical player. I don't believe Alabama would have made that run without Nick Pringle. I don't think they could have gotten it done without him. He was critical. That doesn't mean he's a great player. He's what we talk about all the time. We talk about role players all the time. Fans get obsessed with star players. You need star players. You do need star players, but they can't all be stars. No one has that. No one has that. No one in the NBA has that. They have star players and then they have role players. And without the role players, you will never accomplish what needs to be accomplished without quality role players. And that was Pringle. And in that sense, he'll be missed. Can his production be replaced? Probably so. And Alabama will do that. And I hate it that Nick had public, suspensions and even the problem at the end about the flight to Spokane. That was discipline related as well. But I hate it. I hate it because I think he is at heart a really good kid and a good person.
And the thing about Nick, and this is something I've always believed. I was going to say that old adage. I don't think anybody's ever said it but me. The best role players know their role players.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think when Nick figured out later in the year, hey, I'm a role player. I'm not going to be the man. I'm not going to be the second man or the third man. I'm probably the fourth, fifth, or sixth man. But every now and again, I can play for one series like the man, and that's what a good role player does. Like all we need you is to occasionally play above your skis, and very rarely play below your skis. So, and I think that's what Nick figured out towards the end, and that's why he played so much better. Now, another thing that's out there is Mark Sears has announced that his intention is to go pro while keeping his eligibility. I think, and look, I was really proud of Alabama fans everywhere. Most everybody everywhere was in, what do you call it? In agreement? Yeah, in agreement.
In lockstep. In lockstep. You can say that.
I'm lockstep. Okay. I'm losing my vocabulary, and it's always the last place you look. But anyway, so I think everybody was in agreement that this is the best we probably could have hoped for from Mark Sears. Okay. I would still say I am pessimistic he returns, but I think there is a chance. I feel like now he could legitimately return. I would love to see Grant Nelson announce he's coming back. I want Grant Nelson back badly. And I'll tell you something else that's happened this weekend, Jimmy. Aiden Holloway's visiting actually today. And
as we record.
I had a show with an Auburn friend of mine, and I started out the show saying, Aiden Holloway visiting Alabama, and he said, well, y'all can have him. And I said, I'll gladly take him. And he looked at me like he wasn't very good, right? And I said, what's funny is, didn't Sam Walters only average like 5 or 6 points a game?
Yep.
Okay. And he was like, yeah, y'all just lost Sam Walters. And it occurred to me, Aiden Holloway averaged more points than Sam Walters. Now, he played more. But
he had 20-point games against good teams.
Yeah.
Aiden Holloway. I mean, it didn't happen much, but it happened. He's got a ton of potential. He's just a freshman. I mean, and
he is a little small. I mean,
he is a little small. He is a little small, and he's a freshman, and only played 20 minutes a game. Had a great assist to turnover ratio for a guy that only played 20 minutes. Didn't shoot it great, and I think that surprised some people. I think he was expected to be a better shooter.
He's known as a shooter.
I think playing in Alabama system would help him, because at Auburn, hey, and Bruce Pearl's a good coach. I'm not knocking Bruce Pearl. He's a really good coach. But at Bruce Pearl, they only want you taking good shots. They only want their hot players taking shots. They limit who can shoot when over there, because that's how Bruce is really into, I want my best players taking their best shots, and anyone who's not shooting it well, do not shoot the ball. At Alabama, it's like, hey, if you're hot, shoot it. And if you're not hot, keep shooting it until you are.
Yeah.
And so it's a radically different system. But I think Nate's system is more helpful to someone like Holloway, who I think when you're slumped, when you're in a slump and you're told don't shoot it, it's going to be kind of tough to break the slump.
I was on Doug Amos's show yesterday, and you were on there a couple of weeks ago. And so it was funny. He was talking about Aiden Holloway. He said, boy, if Aiden Holloway transfers to Alabama, can you imagine his rude welcome when he comes back to Neville Arena? And I said, I'm going to tell you something, Doug. I don't feel like it'll be any ruder than it would be for Mark Sears. And he said, boy, I just don't agree with you. And again, everybody's and then an Auburn fan chimed in and was like, yeah, I agree with Doug. I think we would really just, eviscerate Aiden Holloway. And I said, okay, that's fine. You think that now, but why? Are you mad at Aiden Holloway because, if you believe Philip Marshall on one of the Auburn sides was like, Aiden Holloway didn't really have much of a choice but to leave. So why would you be mad at Nate Holloway? Oh, just because he went to Alabama? Because he went to a system that fits him perfectly? You're mad that he's going to improve his career? I would be willing to bet. I was like, look, I've been in Neville Arena. They boo every starter. We boo every starter. You boo all the starters. Now, will Aiden Holloway's be tenfold worse than what they'll do for somebody else? I just don't see it.
Are you going to hate on Pringle if he goes to Auburn?
No. I mean, yeah, I will boo him just like I booed the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't bother me. I think once a kid is gone, he's gone. It wouldn't really affect me. I realize others will feel differently, and I acknowledge that. But
if Janai Broome went to Alabama, okay, I kind of get it. But if this guy, y'all are telling me he's no good, and then we take him.
I didn't realize Philip Marshall said that, although it doesn't surprise me because I don't think everyone realizes how often that happens. Is a lot of players that leave must leave. Yeah. Or they're not kicked out. They're just told, I can't cut you, but I can control your minutes.
Right.
So you can stay, but you won't play. Those kids leave.
Yeah, I'm going to find while you're talking here in a minute, I'm going to find the actual wording of it. But he essentially said it was, best for everybody that he left, essentially. I mean, that's not verbatim. But
it's pretty insane to limit.
Why hate on somebody that you say is no good? You should be like, thank God you went to Bama.
And I realize a lot of Alabama fans, I realize a lot are going to revel in the fact that Alabama, assuming they land Holloway, landed a 5-star McDonald's All-American that used to play at Auburn. And because he used to play at Auburn, that's some sort of extra juice. I just look at the player of what Alabama be getting. Again, McDonald's All-American, 5-star, pretty productive for a kid that only played 20 minutes a game, had trouble shooting it there. Hey, here's another thing. Who had the same shooting percentage as a freshman playing college basketball that Holloway did? Mark Sears.
Yeah, and now we need to go to break, but I found what Philip Marshall – I'm reading this from his article right now. It says, point guard Aiden Holloway had no real option other than going into the portal. Okay? So he's telling you, the Auburn guru is telling you that Aiden Holloway really couldn't come back. And so you're going to hate on this kid because he goes to a system that just happens to be at your arch rival that fits him much better than the system he was in.
It sounds like a system thing to me. Like the Auburn thing just didn't work for him, and he thought it might, and like Auburn thought it might, but it didn't.
Yeah. So
and at Alabama, it may. And let me tell you, if Sears stays in the draft, Holloway's going to play an absolute ton of minutes. He'd play regardless, but he'd play a ton of minutes with Sears gone. And I'm with Luke. I think I would put Sears' chances of staying in pro basketball. I'm going to say pro basketball because I think most likely ends up playing mostly G League games. But I would put it at about 75%.
God, I would love a Mark Sears, Aiden Holloway combo. Call me crazy. I just think that's a great duo.
My prediction is Sears is undrafted but signs a 2-way contract.
Yeah. Let me tell everybody about Monopoly Go now. I'm telling you, Monopoly Go is a ton of fun. I've been told I'm a competitive person. So is Jimmy, and Jimmy knows it's true. Okay, well, yeah, I've got a competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been everywhere. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. There are only like 330 million people in the U.S. So it's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like in real Monopoly. But now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboard show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or on Google Play. All right, talking a little more recruiting very quickly. One other basketball note, Liam McNeely, Alabama is trying to get back in it. There seems to be some reciprocated interest, as they say on 3. And I'm going to go on a limb and say that I think Liam McNeely ends up at UConn.
Yeah.
But I think if he gives Alabama a shot, the hardest thing I think for Nate Oates right now when it comes to recruiting, he's doing a marvelous job. But I think the hardest thing is probably, hey, come down here and see Alabama and see what we have. And then I think that usually turns the tables. I mean,
I agree.
Alabama's
I agree UConn,
campus,
and I agree if he visits Alabama, it might be Alabama, but he's got to visit.
He's got to visit. There's no doubt. Now, the other thing we can talk about, Jimmy, is some massive football visits that are going to be coming up. And there's a lot of them. There's actually a weekend visitor this weekend in Dawson Merritt.
Official visitor. That's an official visit, too.
Is he the only one this weekend?
He is the only one this weekend and the only one for a while. But, man, I am crazy about Dawson Merritt. I'm a big fan. I can give you a fact that has nothing to do with size, speed, or him as a player that I think will interest you if you don't know this. A lot of people, some people do and most people don't. But Dawson is a very good prospect, one of the better linebacker prospects. I mean, he's not elite. He's not a 5-star. He's not, offered. We're not beating Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, and Miami to get him. But and he's from Overland Park, Kansas, 6'3", 205. He's a wolf.
That's
he's
football hotbed.
Yeah, exactly. He's an outside guy. And I can't even tell you where he's ranked. I don't think he's even ranked in the top 100. I don't know.
He's 89.
89. Okay, 89. Okay, well, that in and of itself makes him a real high quality prospect. But I watched his tape, and I liked him a lot on the tape. And only then did I find out something that made me like him even more. His dad is an NFL assistant coach and has been for about 12 years.
Miguel Merritt?
No, not Miguel Merritt.
Who played at Alabama for those who don't know.
Right. No, his dad is the defensive back coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why he lives where he lives.
I like that.
So, that's what I'm like, oh, yeah, because we see the tangibles on tape, and the tangibles are like, man, this kid's a good player. But then you find that out, and you're like, oh, man, this kid's intangibles are through the roof. He's grown up around it. He's grown up around pro football players. He's grown up with the dad with a pro coach's mentality. I mean, I'm a big Dawson Merritt fan. I know some fans are going to say, oh, another linebacker. This kid is an outside linebacker. Alabama has, quote, oversigned the inside group, about 5 of them. But they don't have a single commitment yet from a kid who's clearly going to play outside. And Dawson Merritt would be a wolf in Alabama's new system.
He is he's exciting. And, boy, I mean, you got to feel like if you're Dawson Merritt, and maybe it's just coincidental in terms of timing where this is the only time he could be there or the only time the coaches – whatever. But you got to feel like the red carpet's being rolled out a little bit if you're the only official visitor. You get all the time.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, there won't be official visitors for quite some time. I mean, in other words, this is an official visit, and then I don't think the next official visits are like 2 or 3 weeks away, but we're able to confirm. Y'all check it out at BOL. Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, and Tim Watts put together a list of over 24 players who have lined up their official visits over the summer. The list is over there in an article that Andrew Bone put up. So y'all check it out. But me and Luke will go over, weekly, as it gets to that week. But and there'll be more added, of course, as the staff continues to recruit.
Yeah, and in fact, I was thinking about just going over that list tomorrow for the podcast, which is a great segue to end this podcast. That tomorrow, check back with us. We'll talk about some of the guys that are going to be visiting a little bit later on. And until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.